welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with another match preview for Newcastle United's upcoming game this weekend against Leeds United down at Elland Road. Yes, it's another Ghost to the Past on the agenda as big Sam Allardyce comes back into Newcastle United vision. Thank God he's not in the dugout for us though. But he will be looking to get one over on his own team this weekend, and we have to make sure that does not happen. So we're going to get stuck right into this in a minute, have a look about how we think the lads may line up, a little bit about head-to-heads and how we think the game's going to go. So we'll get stuck into that in a second. Just before we do, a little reminder, as we always say, if you're new to the channel, you're just checking us out for the first time, consider subscribing. We'd love you to come and join us. We're over 3,275 subs at the minute, so we've had loads of new subs recently, which we really appreciate. Loads of room for you guys, 2 live shows Mondays and Wednesdays, and pop-up videos just like this match preview one you're going to watch. So let's get stuck in then. Obviously, Newcastle United, very rarely, we don't say this much this season, are coming off the back of a defeat, unlike the team we're playing at the weekend who have come off a lot of defeats because they're sitting in 19th in the table as we are sitting in 3rd. So it literally is 2 ends of the spectrum here, taken to the field on Saturday. Now, you don't want to say this is a home banker at all, because in relegation fights, teams can pull out results, and we've seen Sam Allardyce do this before, and I really hope that God doesn't do this at the weekend against Newcastle United. I do like Leeds. I've got some good mates who are Leeds fans, and I really don't want to see them go down, but I equally don't want to see Sam Allardyce save them either, because then that means he'll keep getting pulled out of the woodwork by teams who are really in the shit and are just desperate to stay in the Premier League. So yeah, part of me really does want the Leeds fans to stay in the Premier League, and the other part of me really doesn't. But this is the closest thing we probably got to a derby in the Premier League as well, as mad as that sounds, because this is the team geographically that's as close to us as possible. But it ain't a derby, you know. That derby will come next season if Sunderland or Middlesbrough come up. But let's get stuck in. How do you think the lads are going to line up then against Leeds, Elland Road? So we've been quite bold with the selection. So this is what we've gone for. Now, we saw with the game against Arsenal that the Wilson-Isak thing just didn't really work. I don't think it got the best out of Alexander Isak out on the left-hand side. I think the second half he came at the game a bit more, but he's better through the middle. And we think Joe Litton's also better in that front three. So what we've done there is we've brought Elliot Anderson into the midfield. And that was a call from Mark, and I agreed with it. I hope that Eddie Howe does the same thing. I think Elliot showed in a little cameo against Arsenal that he had ability, but he also could get stuck in as well when he flattened Jack in. I really like to see that side of Anderson as well. And one thing we're missing massively, we have been missing, you know, since he's been out, is the legs of Sean Longstaff in that midfield. And I think Elliot Anderson could provide a little bit of cover there in a game like this, where, you know, Leeds will sit behind the ball. Allardyce will make it hard for us. You know, he'll try and part the bus, he'll try and hit us on the break, you know, maybe use the pace of the likes of Jack Harrison or something like that to, you know, to try and unlock us while we're pushing for a goal. So I think we do need some legs in that midfield, and I really think Anderson could be a fantastic inclusion into this starting lineup. Not sure already how we'll go for that, but we would love to see the young boy in there. We think he deserves a chance, and certainly with Sean's absence, we need somebody who's got the energy to get around the pitch. And I think Elliot's got a little bit of that quality as well, where, you know, he was very unlucky to get that first goal ruled out against Forest, and he obviously hit that scorcher volley as well. So, you know, he seems to be getting better and better with every little cameo. So this could be a big game for Anderson, but it is going to be probably a really ugly game as well. So potentially Eddie Howe might stick with Joe Litton in that midfield and maybe bring Maxi into that front three line as well. But we'll soon see on Saturday. But yeah, we'd love to see Elliot Anderson get a game. Obviously, the rest of the team, the back five, unchanged. And as we said then, in front three, Isak through the middle is definitely going to be the best option for us. I mean, in terms of Leeds, in terms of their kind of team news, just looking at this here. So in terms of their team news, they're still missing Tyler Adams, which I think is a big blow for them. Liam Cooper could be out, but he could be in a position to return. Meslier is obviously still going to be dropped in place of is it Joe Robles, who started last week against. He didn't do too bad actually, to be fair. And you also got Robin Koch and Pascal Strujic will be pushing to start. Patrick Bamford's probably going to get dropped for Rodrigo, who is quite handy actually. Rodrigo, he's a player I think we should keep an eye on. They've got Somerville as well and Harrison, so they have got some players who could pose a bit of a threat. They just haven't been able to get their shit together this season, Leeds, and I really hope Saturday is exactly the same. They don't get their shit together again. I mean, we saw when we got beat by Aston Villa that we had a massive reaction. Obviously, that Spurs game was incredible. I don't think it'll be exactly like that this weekend, and I don't actually think we were as bad against Arsenal as we were against Villa when we got tanked 3-0, and we were just second best all day long. Against Arsenal, we had chances, we just didn't take them. You know, and I'd like to think that against a team like Leeds, we'll have more of the ball. I think we'll have better quality on the pitch. And I think, unlike the Arsenal game, where they can just find those moments of quality with the likes of Odegaard or Martinelli, Leeds don't have those types of players. So you'd like to think that we will have our chances and enough chances to put this game to bed, and hopefully Leeds won't have anything for us. And by the time they have to come out and actually try and attack and try and swing, they'll leave more holes at the back for the likes of Isak, Miggy, Bruno, Joe Litton to maybe exploit and to try and get in front and really put these guys to bed quite quickly. But we know Allardyce will make this hard. He'll make this ugly. Credit to him in his press conference. Actually, I know I've dug him out a little bit, but he was the question was put to him about Newcastle United being time wasters, which is a total media agenda really against the club. And he just laughed it off and he said all those people complaining waste time as well, including Klopp and Ten Hag. And so, big credit to Allardyce for that. I must admit, I did quite like that. It gave me a bit of a chuckle. But let's have a look at the head-to-heads before we wrap up, and I'll just give you a prediction. So, as I said, there we're sitting in third, they're sitting in 19th. The form, guys, you can see there, we've won 3, we've lost 2, which is very unlike us this season. But for Leeds, they've drawn 1 and they've lost 4. They're obviously sacked the manager and brought in Sam Allardyce there as a emergency break glass, try and save us move. They did look a bit better against City. I think they looked a little bit tighter and had moments. Obviously, they scored a decent goal as well, and they caught City on the break with that, with Rodrigo's pace. So there is something there with Allardyce, maybe that freshness, that that kick up the arse that they maybe need on the training pitch. So I don't think this will be a wham bam thank you ma'am game at all. But I'd like to think we can get the win here. But just looking at some of the stats. So 27 Premier League games, we won 12, Leeds have won 7, there's been 8 draws. We've scored 40 goals and they've scored 36. So, there's quite a few goals in this fixture, normally quite tight games. The reverse fixture last season at St James's Park was 0-0. And obviously down at Elland Road was a key game for us staying in the Premier League with John Joe Shelby free kick, which is kind of the game that changed everything, really. We really pushed on with forward momentum then. So, this fixture has got big, significance for us. And if Eddie can get that into the guys' minds again and make them remember that moment, then hopefully we can get this win. But Newcastle have won 9 of the last 16 versus Leeds in all competitions. Leeds with only 1 win in the last 8 Premier League games. They've conceded 25. Leeds have only scored more than 1 goal in 8 Premier League games, and Newcastle have scored 22 in the last 8 Premier League games. So we are in really good goal scoring form. So I'd like to think going into this game, we probably are the favourites, and I'd like to think we can put Leeds to bed. But with relegation fights, you don't want to be too cocky. But I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say that we beat Leeds 2-1 at the weekend, and that really helps us push on for our challenge for the top 4. We need 2 more wins realistically, and I think the next 2 games are really achievable wins. You got Leeds and then you got Leicester, and they're both really struggling to stay in the Premier League. So they're the 2 wins there that we really should be targeting. Brighton's going to be a really tough game. And then Chelsea could be anything, depending on what Chelsea show up, really. So I'd like to hope and think that Eddie and the guys would have targeted Leeds and Leicester for those 6 points to get us cemented in that top 4 finish. But let us know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you think it's going to be an easy win, if you're a little bit nervous about it. I know a few people are nervous about it, and I hope that the lads can just get the job done and we get a good reaction from that Arsenal defeat at the weekend. But if this is the kind of thing you like, guys, please consider subscribing. We'd love you to click a button and come and join us. We're over 3275 subs. And if you like the video as well, it really helps the channel grow, gets it around YouTube. So until then, this is Chris signing off. Let's keep supporting that team. We'll call United. Let's hope for 3 points at the weekend. However, lads, I'll be back with a post-match review after the Leeds game and hopefully talking about another 3 points for the Champions League chasing Magpies. We'll catch you later, everybody. Cheers.